All right, we are live from Redhook, back for another edition. We have a very special guest DJ tonight, Mr. Manny Ward.
Mr. Ward.
Yo, what's up?
Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Don't forget to use the microphone.
Yeah. Thank you for. What's
Well,
up?
that's why we double mic you. Just
Thank you
in
for
case.
having me. I'm honored. And
Welcome to Redhook.
thank you. It's
I mean,
good
you
to be
came
here.
here before, right?
Yeah.
IKEA?
Yeah. No, not IKEA. I mean, I used to pass here all the time when I lived in Staten Island. I would go see my grandmother in Flatbush. So, yeah, I know all about Redhook.
You were born in Brooklyn?
Born in Manhattan,
Nice.
14th Street, and raised in Staten Island.
14th
New
Street,
York,
Palladium. Palladium, were you near the
Exactly.
Palladium?
Not too far from it.
Really?
Not too far from it.
That was a good
Yeah.
club.
Yes, it was. It was a great year.
So welcome to the Function House. Thanks for coming on our show.
Thank you. This is an amazing spot. This is really, really cool.
You like it?
I could live here. I could. Yeah.
Well, don't tell anybody, but I live here.
It's our secret.
It gets a little cold in here because there's no insulation on the walls, but
Yeah, but you warmed it up pretty well.
yeah.
It works out.
So born in New York, what year did you start DJing? What year did you get into this?
So let's see. I was spinning as, just as a little kid, not knowing what the hell he was doing. Pre-teens, like I guess around 11, 12, when I moved to Harrison Street, right behind Bailey Seton Hospital, where Madonna did the Papa Don't Preach video. Yeah, my friend had turntables, and I was always attracted to them. So I just did that as a hobby until I went into the military.
Oh, you were in the military.
I was in the military. They stationed me in this place called Clovis, New Mexico, which was the middle of nowhere. So what I did to keep my sanity was I had my neighbor, friend, send me my equipment.
You shipped it out to New Mexico.
Shipped it out to New Mexico. The cool thing was they had a lot of people from Chicago, New York, and Florida, from the East Coast.
Yeah.
But I did it just to keep my sanity. And then
Pastime.
Yeah, and then some people heard what I did, and it's like, oh, why don't you play, and on bass. I was like, nah, because I'm into the dance music, not the pop stuff. And in New Mexico, they want you to play country as well, which was rough. But they convinced me, so I guess that's when I pretty much started professionally, because that's when I started getting paid, and that was in '88.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you started off as a dance music DJ?
Yeah, that was always my
Hip-hop
thing.
thing.
No, I mean, I loved hip hop,
Yeah.
and I played it, but I never considered myself a hip hop DJ. But prior to that, I was a club head. Like, that's why I went into the military, because
What
in
clubs? Let's
college,
name some clubs.
oh my God, I did Palladium, I did 1018, I did Better Days, I did, and this is back then. What else?
Studio 54?
Zanzibar. Studio 54 only once. No, I'm sorry. Like 3 times. And then I was fortunate enough to go to Paradise Garage twice.
So
But
you
my
got to hear
main
Larry
club-
play.
I got to hear Larry, and that's what changed
That's
one
where
of
you
the things
got
that changed my life.
That's where you got the bug.
I understood that.
We don't have too many people on the show that have gotten to experience Larry Levan live. So you said you got to experience him twice live.
Yeah.
Tell us about that experience for you.
So the cool part was I went with, she's like one of my oldest friends. I consider my sister. Her name was Charlie. And we would, every so often we would go out on Saturday nights. I knew that she had connections in the clubs. So this one particular time we decided to hit Chinatown, go to this place that was called Quick at the time, which was then Vinyl and then Shelter.
Okay.
So it had Vinyl and so on and stuff like that. And then hit the Paradise Garage. Now, I knew all about it, but I also knew that you needed, somebody to either sponsor you if you weren't.
Yeah, because there were membership cards,
Right,
right?
exactly.
Crazy.
So I never tried it because I was scared. Besides, I was content with Better Days,
Yeah.
But I went in there, and I remember, the long walk that everybody talks about. You walk in, and it was early, so the system wasn't at its full capacity, but it was there. And one of the things that I remembered was They were playing this old track. I don't know if it's by Adonis, but called 7 Ways. 7 Ways to Move Your Soul, right? So, and I look on a dance floor, I see this guy I used to go to high school with. So that was kind of, that's interesting. So I'm watching him listen to the song, blah, 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 and I'm watching him dance. Okay, that's cool, that's cool. And then Larry throws on this song by ESG called Stand in Line. And it's actually a live record. They were a live dance band. And there's this one part where there's a drum fill. And for some reason, I'm standing near the speaker, and Larry did something to where the system was so powerful that the volume and the force pushed me onto the dance floor.
Really?
Without hurting my ears. And I'm like, holy shit. Now I see. Now I see what everybody's talking about. So that was one of my main things. The second time I went, it wasn't as impressive as the first time because it was my second time. And I don't mean that by he didn't play good, or it was just that I had been already, so I knew the excellence that I was in, you know. But
You
you know,
always remember that first
exactly.
time walking into a club. Like I remember the song that was playing when I first walked into Palladium.
Yeah.
You know, so
Yeah,
the
exactly.
First time you walk into a club is always something special.
Yeah. Same with Sound Factory. The first time I, walking down that, garage, you walked up, Sound Factory walked down, and I was fresh out of the military by that time. I might have been on leave or something like that. And I'm hearing Todd Terry's Bango, and I look up, and I see this bald-headed white guy, killing it, and that was Junior Vasquez. And so, yeah.
So there's a couple of DJs that you were inspired by. Obviously, Junior, Levan.
So Levan, I didn't know him. So for me to get in, obviously, from one side, from the outside, you hear what you like, and yeah, that is inspiring. But I'm lucky enough to the people that inspired me, I know. And I think that's because not only what they did, but then they kind of brought their personal teachings to me, So, I have some great guys that have inspired me, and I'm really lucky and blessed that they are, top notch.
Yeah.
So, it's Frankie was the first one. I was his protege.
How did that whole experience come about?
That was cool.
'Cause you're talking about the godfather of house music right there.
Yeah, and he's family. He's family. So this happened when I had just gotten out of military. This was in '90, and there was this big thing that happened with Junior leaving Sound Factory. And I remember that next week I went, I saw Frankie. I didn't know who he was at the time. I just saw this big black guy in the booth, and he's killing it, playing some amazing stuff. Beautiful stuff, too. And what happened was, a week later, I'm going to this record store. There's one of 4 record stores I always went to. It was Vinyl Mania, Dance Tracks, which is on 3rd Street, where Frankie lived.
Yep.
Underground, and one other I can't think of.
8 Ball?
I worked at 8 Ball, so. But I did shop there.
I think I remember you at 8 Ball.
Yeah, I hope so. Yeah, I've been there for a minute. So, is that James? So I'm walking down the street, and I see this big, tall guy and this other guy walking up towards me, and I'm like, who's that? Let's go right into the Dance Tracks, and Joe Clausella's playing records. The record of the time was Work This Pussy, Junior Vasquez.
Yeah.
That they were the only people who had the white label. So I got wind of that, and I went to Dance Tracks looking for that. Meanwhile, when I'm there, Joe Clausella's playing this track that I heard at Sound Factory last week. Beautiful. With whistles and stuff like that. I'm like, wow, there's that record. It was a whistle song, but it was playing it off of cassette. I was like, I want that. Can I have that? So no, you can't have it. That's his. I was like, oh, shit, that's Frankie. So I was like, hey, I was at the club last week. I heard you play. And I'm like, great. I had a great time. And I love that song that you did, blah, blah. And we just hit it off. Hit it off. So we said, look, if you want to come back, to Sound Factory, let me know. Here's my number. Put you on the list. So I went, and we just, I don't know, we found we had so much in common. Went to the same high school, 10 years apart. And it just clicked. And through him, through Sound Factory, is when I'm starting to meet all these people that I only read about.
Yeah.
You know, like Dave Morales, Satoshi Tomi, and all these people.
So the experience had to be surreal, though.
It was, in the very beginning, it was. I had no idea that our relationship was going to go to where it was, you know, to where it winded up. But I think because it was just genuine, and he recognized what I wanted to do and the hard work that I put in. So, like, I always hung out with him. You know, got to the point where we were always hanging out, not just at the clubs, but outside.
Right.
You know? So one time, I was playing at Roxy. This is how my residency with him started. And he's like, I got to go to the bathroom, throw on a couple of records. I'm like, no, I can't do this. Like, it's 12:30, the place is packed. He's like, come on, you know what you're doing. So I played like 5 records, and that was it. Then he said, from now on, I want you to open. And then when he finished at Roxy and they opened Sound Factory Bar, that continued. So that's where my Sound Factory Bar
So that was
10
your
years
break.
started.
That was the big break right there.
Frankie was the one who gave me my very first break. I mean, as far as...
You co-signed. That was like a
Yeah,
co-sign.
exactly.
You put a stamp on it.
He did. And to have someone like him
Sure.
bring me on and under his wing was pretty intense. So,
But obviously you weren't a terrible DJ, so.
yeah, he trusted me. And I didn't clear the floor. Let's put it that
5
way.
records is more than a bathroom break.
No, yeah, it's more than a exactly.
You on for a
Exactly. You know, and you kind of learn that later on down the line. But yeah, it was pretty cool, pretty intense. And that got me a 7-year residency at Sound Factory Bar, where I would open up for him upstairs from like, I guess 10 until 12:30. And then after the first 6 months, they opened downstairs and gave that to me. So, you know, I had an amazing gig for like 7 years of opening twice and having my own room. You know, that was pretty cool.
So what was it that got you into the production part of the business?
So I started working at 8 Ball Records, which was amazing. This gentleman by the name of Kevin Williams, I love dearly. He put 8 Ball Records on the map. He works with Nervous now. I'm selling records. I'm playing at Sound Factory Bar for like 2 years already. And he actually just came up to me one day in a record store and said, you and Conrad Corelli are going into the studio next weekend. You're doing a remix. So I'm like, well, what are you talking about? He's like, look, you've been playing for this long. You know what you like. Go in there. Conrad will help you along. And I always wondered if I could do it.
This was around what year?
This was 94, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, I think 94. And at the same time that happened, I met another friend of mine at April who wanted to produce as well. And he wanted to bring me in on it. So it wound up being like one of my biggest records. Again, I didn't think I was ready, but Kevin did. And we got it. It took a while to get it, but once we got it. And I didn't get the bug until maybe like a year later. Because I hooked up with another guy by the name of Casey Hogan, and we became like a production team. We put out some pretty good stuff. So that's when I started to get the bug. But at that particular time, I wasn't hands-on. I was just ideas. But then once my tenure ended with Casey, I realized I had to get my own stuff, sit down and learn. And
So what equipment were you using?
Digital Performer since day one.
Still
you know,
using it?
still using it, but not as much because, like everybody, I use Ableton. But Digital Performer, I'll never totally get rid of because I still have the outboard gear, you know, and I don't ever want to get rid of that because you still have that warmth.
Yeah.
Sound to it.
The analog sound, right?
Analog sound, absolutely, absolutely.
So what was that track that did it for you? What was the one that?
The track that I did.
Yeah.
Well, Sister Sister wound up becoming not even an underground. It was like it was a very, very big hit. Junior played it. Actually, Junior played it and a couple of others, but he was like one of the only DJs who played that particular record, but he made that a fucking monster. But then I had some other tracks. I had FMC Project, which is more of a deeper sort of Frankie influence, or the deeper influence that Frankie played a lot of other people. So at that particular point in my very early part, I had, if one DJ wasn't playing it, the other was. So, and I kind of have a wide range. You know,
so you had a good outlet to test out your records too?
Yeah. Well, and also because I was part of Def Mix, which was For the Record, their record pool.
Which was like the hottest record pool.
The hottest. Yeah, I mean, at the Winter Music Conference, they actually stopped the categories for best record pool because Def Mix just kept taking it.
And you had every top DJ in that pool.
And that was good because I had input. And I had, this close to talking to people like Francois K. or Crivet or Kenny Carpenter or something like that, getting input right there and then and stuff like that. So it's been really good that way. And the relationships that I've formed from then, I still have.
So what's your music collection like?
I'm very proud of it, actually. As a matter of fact, I tell people when I die, I want 2 plots. One for me and one for my records, because nobody's going to appreciate them more than me. Oh, sorry, Jeffrey. I'm sure you will. I have a wide range, because I guess one of my favorite stories about my childhood is when most kids my age were doing, buying candy. I was buying records. I was buying 45s. I was putting like pennies and nickels on the counter and saying, I want that, I want that. And I was a weird kid on the block because I didn't like the Jackson 5 like everybody, or the Silvers. I like LaBelle or the Emotions. So people looked at me like you're weird. But later on down the line, when I started going to clubs, I realized, that's the scene I was in. So I relate to people like Morales and Vega who played this stuff, or even Frankie.
So how old were you when you were buying these 45s?
Oh, God. As long as I can remember. Like, my mother used to send me to the store to get music. But that's because, like, even as a kid, when I would go to my aunt's house, it turns out after Mom passed a couple of years later, I found out that my mom and my aunt both went to the Paradise Garage. So I had no idea. So I'm like, it's hereditary. Okay, that's where it all came from. Okay. And they always knew where I was because I was always in front of a record player. Always. As long as I can remember. So
they were kind of inspiring you.
Yeah, without even knowing it. Like, I told my aunt that like a couple of years ago, and she's like, of course. So so back to the record collection. Yeah, I have anything and everything. A lot. My first album I ever bought was a LaBelle album, and I still buy vinyl now. If I could find what I'm looking for. But I have some pretty good gems. I have to do.
Is there ever a time you whip out the vinyl and you play a little?
Oh yeah. So I just recently played it analog. I played it twice. Once for my birthday, and then once prior to that, and it was a majority vinyl set. And it just felt good. It's so nice, and the sound there.
You have that air behind that sound.
Yeah, and Shorty, who put the system in, he knows me from the Sound Factory bar, so they know that I understand the system and stuff like that. So it was like going back home. It literally was like going back home to Sound Factory bar. It felt really good and great sound and stuff like that.
Are you playing there again soon?
Probably not until the springtime. I want to give them something good. I have this team of guys that I work with that are amazing, but as of right now, we're all doing different things. So I want to wait for the right time You know, one of these guys are Curtis Atchinson's amazing producer. We do stuff together in Amsterdam. Another guy, Elliot Montos, amazing businessman. And then Jeffrey Chang, who's got like, he's a DJ and smart as hell. So, you know, we just want to wait for the right time.
So you're producing now, though. You got some tracks coming out soon?
Yeah, actually, one that we're not really shopping. We just got to get it done. We got to get a couple of other mixes done that I've done with Curtis, which is got a really good buzz, called Big Mouth. It's been done for 2 years already. I just did a track that I pitched to DJ Pierre's label, which is called Grace Track, something like that. And I got to figure out what title to give that one. And what else? A couple of others, I think. One more I can't think of right now. So, oh yeah. So I've worked with this amazing vocalist. His name is Barton. And I worked with him years ago. And actually what he brought to me was the actual almost crossover thing, because I never did crossover stuff. But he introduced me to that, so I actually had some Billboard charting with him. So I have something like that, something that I've done with him as recent that I'm shopping around to.
Are you going to play some
Yeah.
stuff tonight?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So you got something prepared for us?
Yeah. I didn't sleep last
Talk a little
night.
bit about what you're going to play tonight.
Okay.
You didn't sleep last night?
I didn't sleep last night. I was nervous about this, you know, because the thing is, you know, you want to do it right. You know, you want to mess up.
You seem pretty relaxed here in the interview.
You've been around a long time, man. I don't think you're going to have a problem with the set.
Well, hey, first of all, I feel comfortable. So that alone is fine. But, you know, when I'm not sure, I'm just like thinking, okay, I got to make sure this is right. But yeah, I'm going to.
But that's normal.
Yeah,
It's normal to be nervous, yeah.
But yeah, I'm going to spread it around. I don't like to keep it one way, one style. I hate that. And I don't like to keep it all new. I don't like to keep it all old. And I kind of jump around. I do play disco, but at the right time. And I could play some disco, but it has to be at the right time. And it's not the same disco. You're not going to hear hot stuff from me, unless it's Frankie's mix. He's got a killer mix. Yeah, he's got a killer mix.
Joey Negro's got a pretty good mix.
Yeah, well, Joey will make you play disco and like it all over again.
Yeah, I mean, he just,
you know,
he takes those records.
Things that he had, like, he really messed me up with. There's this song as a kid. I can't remember, something Larkin. The name of the song was A Lot of Love. It's gonna take a lot of love. It was such a 70s, not a rock song, but soft rock song. And he revisited that and messed my head up. I'm like, oh, I would not even think of doing anything like that. So yeah. People like Joey, and if you can revisit disco, because unlike Frankie in that, people used to ask Frankie all the time, why don't you play the old stuff? Because he's lived it. There's so much good new stuff out there. Now, we're not forgetting about it, but you're not gonna, you know, you very seldom hear me do an all classic night, because it gets kind of boring. Because you could play but the same songs, you know, and you could use the Larry Levan influence, but Larry's influenced so many other people too, so.
You get that right crowd with that old house, man.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, luckily my crowd, you know, they love it all. Yeah. And I always mix, like I'll mix a disco record with a techno track. I'll do that in a heartbeat, and I'm kind of known for something, doing stuff like that, because I like to keep it fresh. But at the same time, I'm not the type of person that will like re-edit it in the computer. I like to just do it right there, old school, you know, stuff like that. It's just more exciting.
Well, we're looking forward to hearing you play. We thank you for coming down to the Function House.
Thank you for having me. This is fantastic.
We're going to take a 2-minute break, and we're going to get Manny Ward up on the CDJs.
And get me some liquor.